First contact and crisis. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the TSS Pioneer, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel, though advanced was a relative term in the cosmic scale of things. The ship's hull was thick steel alloy, its weapons were practical railguns and missiles, and its sensors were reliable if unspectacular. But Chen took pride in the Pioneer's rugged dependability. It was a ship built to last. "Captain, we're picking up unusual radiation signatures," Lieutenant Park announced from the sensor station. "Pattern doesn't match anything in our database." Chen moved to Park's station, studying the readout. After 3 years of deep space patrol, they'd seen their share of strange phenomena, but this was different. The energy signature pulsed with an almost deliberate rhythm. "Full stop," Chen ordered. "Active scans, but keep our weapons cold. Let's not start any fights we can't finish." The bridge crew worked in practiced silence as the Pioneer held position at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Earth's first line of defense was a long way from home. "Signal's getting stronger," Park reported. "Whatever it is, it's moving fast. Heading right for us." Before Chen could respond, space itself seemed to tear open in front of them. A massive vessel emerged, its sleek crystalline hull crackling with energy discharges. It was clearly damaged, trailing what looked like liquid light from multiple breaches. "My God," Chen whispered. First contact, and it looked like they'd arrived just in time for a funeral. "Captain." Park's voice rose with urgency. "The vessel's broadcasting on multiple frequencies. It's using basic mathematical sequences. I think they're trying to communicate." "Send the standard greeting package," Chen ordered, "and get me a damage assessment on their ship." The response came almost immediately, a burst of data that their computers struggled to decode. But the message became clear enough. "Help. Pursuing forces. Civilians aboard. Multiple spatial distortions forming." The tactical officer shouted. 3. No, 5 vessels emerging. The new arrivals were nothing like the crystalline ship. These were angular, predatory craft that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with terrible purpose, weapons already charging. Chen had seconds to make a decision that would change human history. The Pioneer wasn't supposed to engage in combat with unknown aliens. They were supposed to observe, report back, and wait for instructions. But there were civilians aboard that crystal ship. "Battle stations," Chen ordered, her voice steady. "Load the railguns with fragmentary rounds. Target their weapon emplacements only. Let's show them what primitive technology can do." The pursuing vessels fired first, streams of plasma that the crystal ship barely evaded. They seemed to ignore the Pioneer entirely, perhaps dismissing it as too primitive to be a threat. That was their first mistake. Fire. The Pioneer's railguns roared to life, sending hypervelocity rounds screaming through space. The pursuing vessel's energy shields flared brilliantly, but the shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The rounds tore through their hulls, sending debris spinning into the void. The attackers' formation broke as they finally registered the Pioneer as a threat, but their return fire splashed harmlessly against the ship's thick armor. "Their weapons are energy-based," the tactical officer reported with surprise. "Our hull is actually holding better than their shields." Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones. Target their engines. Let's show them what happens when they threaten civilians in our space. The battle was brief but decisive. 2 of the attacking vessels were crippled, their engines destroyed by precisely aimed railgun fire. The others retreated, vanishing back into their spatial rifts. In the aftermath, Chen organized rescue operations for the crystal ship's crew. When their leader emerged through the airlock, Chen found herself face to face with a being of living crystal, its faceted form refracting light in complex patterns. "I am Zar-El," it communicated through a hastily assembled translation matrix. "You have saved my people from the void swarm. We did not expect. Your methods were primitive," Chen suggested with a slight smile. Effective, Zar-El corrected. The Void Swarm has destroyed 1,000 worlds with their unstoppable weapons. Yet your simple projectiles, the crystal being's form, shifted in what Chen would later learn was their equivalent of amazement. Sometimes the old ways work best, Chen said. Now tell me about this Void Swarm. If they've destroyed 1,000 worlds, Earth needs to know what we're up against. As Zar-El began to explain, Chen realized that humanity's first steps into the galactic community hadn't come through diplomacy or trade, but through the simple choice to stand up against bullies. It wasn't the most sophisticated first contact, but it was perfectly human. And somewhere out in the darkness, the Void Swarm was learning a harsh lesson. The galaxy's newest spacefaring race might not have the most advanced technology, but they had something far more dangerous: the will to fight back. The alliance forms. The United Earth Defense Council chamber was packed with representatives from every nation, their faces illuminated by the holographic display showing the Void Swarm's path of destruction. Captain Chen stood beside Zar-El, both watching as Admiral Santos addressed the assembly. In the past week, we've confirmed the existence of not just alien life, but an interstellar threat that makes our old Earth conflicts look like schoolyard scuffles, Santos said, his weathered face grave. Ambassador Zar-El, please share what you've told us about the Void Swarm's capabilities. The crystalline being stepped forward, its form catching the light. The swarm has destroyed 12,000 worlds in the past century. They do not negotiate. They do not trade. They consume resources, break civilizations, and move on. Our crystalline confederation once spanned 3 spiral arms. Now we are refugees. Murmurs filled the chamber. A Chinese representative spoke up. With respect, Ambassador, your civilization clearly possesses technology far beyond ours. If you couldn't stop them, what chance does Earth have? That, Zar-El's form, pulsed with what Chen had learned was excitement, is precisely why you might succeed where we failed. Captain Chen, show them. Chen activated her datapad, bringing up combat footage from the Pioneers' encounter. The Void Swarm has spent centuries fighting advanced civilizations. Their defenses are optimized against energy weapons, their tactics designed to counter predictable AI-driven responses. But they've never faced anything quite like us. The footage showed Pioneers' railgun rounds tearing through swarm shields. Their energy shields are useless against kinetic weapons. Their tactical computers can't predict human intuition. And our armor, which we developed because we couldn't create energy shields, actually works better against their weapons than advanced barriers. Sometimes, Admiral Santos added with a slight smile, being the new kids on the block has its advantages. We think differently. We fight differently. But the swarm is massive. Another representative objected. How can we possibly? We don't fight alone, Chen interrupted. Ambassador Zar-El and I have been working on something. A combination of our strengths. Ambassador. Zar-El projected a new hologram, a modified human warship design. We propose an alliance. Your ships enhanced with our technology. Your tactics supported by our intelligence. Your courage multiplied by our resources. Admiral Santos took over. The Crystalline Confederation has already begun evacuating their civilians to safe harbors beyond the swarm's reach. They're offering us their military technology, their star maps, everything we need to fight back. In return, they ask for our help in stopping the swarm before it reaches the next arm of the galaxy, which includes Earth. This is more than a defense pact, Chen added. This is an opportunity. Humanity has always wondered about our place in the cosmos. Now we know. We're the ones crazy enough to punch a bully in the nose with centuries-old technology and skilled enough to make it work. The chamber erupted in discussion. Chen watched as Earth's leaders debated the prospect of joining an interstellar war, but she already knew what they would decide. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about standing up for what's right. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Earth would fight. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Crystal tech engineers worked alongside human mechanics, merging their technologies in ways neither side had imagined possible. They kept the thick armor of human ships, but added crystal matrix reinforcement. They maintained the railguns, but enhanced them with crystal focusing arrays that made them even more devastating against swarm shields. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. During a test firing of a modified railgun, a junior engineer noticed something odd in the readings. The swarm ships, she explained to Chen and Zar-El. They seem to flinch when we fire. Not from the impact, from the electromagnetic pulse our rails generate. Zar-El's form vibrated with revelation. Of course, we always filtered out electromagnetic interference in our sensor data as noise, but you humans still use primitive EM sensors. And we notice what you couldn't, Chen finished. The swarm uses some kind of electromagnetic communication between their ships. Our primitive railguns aren't just punching holes in their ships, they're disrupting their neural network. As the combined fleet took shape in Earth orbit, Chen stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned TSS Defiant, a hybrid vessel that represented the best of both civilizations. Below, Earth shone like a blue jewel, while above, crystal ships glittered alongside sturdy human vessels. "We're almost ready," Zar-El said, joining her at the viewport. "The swarm will reach the Perseus Arm in 2 weeks. They expect to find more helpless prey." Chen nodded, watching a squadron of fighters practice formation flying. Human pilots in crystal-enhanced craft, pulling maneuvers that made their alien allies' sensors glitch in confusion. "Instead," she said, "they're going to find something they've never seen before. Humanity isn't just joining the galactic community. We're helping to protect it. And we're going to do it our way." As if in response, a modified railgun fired in the distance, its crystal-enhanced round leaving a trail of electromagnetic disruption in its wake. The old and the new, working together to forge something stronger than either could be alone. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the cosmos what Earth's children could do. Operation Thundershield. The Perseus Arm glittered with stars, each one a potential battlefield. Captain Chen watched from the Defiance Bridge as the combined fleet took their positions behind the cover of a massive debris field, the remnants of a destroyed solar system, a grim reminder of what they were fighting to prevent. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Park announced from his new crystal-enhanced tactical station. The displays showed hundreds of vessels, human warships with their thick armor gleaming alongside elegant crystal ships, now modified with reinforced hulls and electromagnetic weaponry. "The swarm will emerge from FTL in approximately 10 minutes, Zar-El reported, their crystalline form pulsing with nervous energy. "Our long-range sensors detect at least 3,000 vessels." Chen nodded, reviewing the battle plan one final time. "Operation Thundershield is a go. All ships maintain emission control. Let them think they're just finding another helpless system." The minutes ticked by intense silence. Chen thought about all the training, all the modifications, all the integration of human and crystal technology that had led to this moment. They had one chance to prove their strategy could work. "Swarm vessels detected." Park's voice was tight with tension. "They're emerging exactly where predicted." Through the main viewport, Chen watched as space itself seemed to tear open. The void swarm emerged like a cloud of metallic locusts, their black hulls absorbing starlight. They moved with their characteristic precision, spreading out to envelop their target. "They're scanning the system," Park reported. "Still haven't detected us behind the debris field." Chen waited until the swarm was fully committed to their standard attack pattern. "All ships, execute Phase 1. Crystal vessels, you're up." The crystalline ships moved first, their advanced engines allowing them to dart through the debris field with impossible grace. They fired their traditional energy weapons, deliberately missing but forcing the swarm to activate their energy shields. "They're responding exactly as expected," Zar-El observed. "Their shields are optimized for energy weapons, leaving them vulnerable to what comes next." "Phase 2, Chen ordered. All human vessels launch electromagnetic pulse missiles. Target their communication nodes. The debris field came alive with launch trails as hundreds of missiles emerge. The swarm, their sensors calibrated to detect energy weapons, barely registered the primitive projectiles before they detonated. The electromagnetic pulses rippled through space, creating a web of disruption. The effect on the swarm was immediate and dramatic. Their perfect formation began to break apart as their neural network suffered interference. EM disruption at 60%. Park called out. Their ship-to-ship communication is fragmenting. Phase 3. Chen commanded. All ships, emerge and engage. Crystal ships, use your speed to herd them into our firing solutions. Human vessels, standard attack pattern Delta. The combined fleet burst from cover, executing a battle plan that merged human aggressive tactics with crystalline precision. Crystal ships darted between swarm vessels, their energy weapons now precisely targeted to drive the enemy into predetermined zones. There, human warships waited with their modified railguns. First kill zone is hot, Park reported as the railguns opened fire. The electromagnetic disruption from the guns themselves added to the chaos, while the hypersonic rounds tore through the confused swarm ships. But the swarm wasn't defeated easily. A group of their ships broke through the initial attack, heading straight for the Defiant. Their weapons fire splashed against the ship's crystal-reinforced armor. Return fire, Chen ordered calmly. Show them what happens when old meets new. The Defiant's main gun, a railgun enhanced with crystalline focusing technology, fired. The round left a visible distortion in space as it traveled, its electromagnetic field amplified by crystal tech. It struck the lead swarm ship dead center, the impact sending out a pulse that disrupted every swarm vessel within 1,000 kilometers. Amazing, Zar-L's form flickered with excitement. The electromagnetic disruption is cascading through their neural network. They're losing coordination across their entire fleet. The battle continued for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt after that first devastating strike. The swarm, for the first time in centuries, found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't adapt to. Their advanced technology was being defeated by weapons they had dismissed as primitive, their perfect coordination shattered by electromagnetic pulses they had never considered a threat. Swarm ships are beginning to retreat, Park announced, disbelief in his voice. I count over 500 destroyed, the rest are withdrawing. A cheer went up on the bridge, but Chen raised her hand for silence. Don't celebrate yet. This was just the first battle. The swarm will adapt, they always do. But now, they know we can hurt them. Now they know the galaxy isn't defenseless anymore. She turned to Zar-L, who was studying the tactical display showing the retreating swarm ships. Your people thought their advanced technology would save them. My people thought we were too primitive to matter in galactic affairs. We were both wrong. It's not about having the most advanced weapons. It's about having the will to fight and the creativity to use what you have. The swarm will return, Zar-L agreed, but for the first time in centuries, we have hope. Your people have shown us that sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones. Chen looked at the battlefield, where human and crystal ships were already beginning recovery operations. We've proved our strategy works. Now we need to prepare for their counterattack. They won't underestimate us again. As if to emphasize her point, long-range sensors detected more swarm signatures gathering at the edge of the sector. The real test was still to come. The breaking storm. The Defiance bridge was filled with smoke and sparks as Captain Chen gripped her command chair. Warning lights flashed everywhere as damage reports flooded in from all decks. Through the cracked main viewport, she could see the massive swarm counterattack unfolding. Hull breach on Deck 4, Park shouted over the chaos. Emergency force fields are holding, but our crystal matrix reinforcement is down to 30% integrity. The swarm had returned with a vengeance, bringing nearly 10,000 ships. They'd adapted their tactics, using sacrificial vessels to absorb the electromagnetic pulses while their main force pressed the attack. The combined human crystal fleet was being pushed back across the Perseus arm. Status of the line, Chen demanded, wiping blood from a cut above her eye. We've lost 40% of our positions, Zar-El reported, their crystalline form showing cracks from the continuous battering. The swarm, they're learning. They're using our own tactics against us. Through the tactical display, Chen watched as swarm ships deliberately positioned themselves to block the electromagnetic disruption fields, creating safe corridors for their companions to attack through. They were adapting, evolving their strategy in real time. Captain, Park's voice suddenly changed. I'm detecting something strange in the quantum frequency band. The crystal sensors are filtering it out, but our old EM arrays are picking up a pattern. Chen moved to his station, studying the readouts. In the midst of the chaos, she noticed something. Every time a swarm ship fired its main weapons, there was a brief fluctuation in their quantum field. Zar-El, she called, your people always said the swarm's weapons were beyond our understanding. But what if they're not? What if they're just using quantum fields the same way we use electromagnetic ones? The crystalline beam's form pulsed with sudden understanding. Of course, we always assumed their technology was too advanced to comprehend, but perhaps we were overthinking it. Their weapons are just fancy versions of what we already know, Chen finished. Lieutenant Park, analyze those quantum fluctuations. Find me a frequency that matches their weapon signatures. As Park worked, the battle continued to rage. Human ships fought with desperate courage, their railguns creating havoc among the swarm formations, while crystal vessels used their superior maneuverability to stay alive. But they were losing ground, ship by ship. Got it, Park announced. Their weapon signatures operate on a quantum frequency of 10 carat minus 35 Hz. But what good does that do us? We can't affect quantum fields with our technology. No, Chen agreed, but we can use their own fields against them. Zar-El, can your crystal matrices be tuned to that exact frequency? Yes, but by the stars. Zar-El's form brightened with revelation. If we tune our crystals to resonate with their quantum fields, we create feedback, Chen finished, like screaming into a microphone. All ships, she broadcast to the fleet. Emergency Protocol Alpha. Crystal ships, tune your matrices to frequency 10 carat minus 35 Hz. Human vessels, prepare to fire everything we've got directly at the crystal ships. Captain, Park protested, if we fire on our allies. Trust me, Chen said, watching as the crystal ships moved into position. Sometimes you have to break something to make it work better. All ships, execute on my mark. The swarm pressed their attack, sensing victory. Their quantum weapons reached out to finish off the seemingly helpless crystal ships. Now, every human vessel fired their railguns and missiles at their crystal allies. But instead of causing damage, the impacts energized the precisely tuned crystal matrices. The crystals began to resonate at exactly the same frequency as the swarm's quantum weapons. The effect was catastrophic for the swarm. Their weapon beams created feedback loops through the crystal matrices, the quantum fields cascading back through their own ships. Across the battlefield, swarm vessels began to lose power as their own weapons turned against them. It's working, Park shouted. Their quantum fields are collapsing. Their whole network is going into cascade failure. Chen watched as the mighty swarm fleet began to break apart, their sophisticated quantum technology undone by a simple principle of physics that any human child with a microphone could understand. All ships, press the advantage, she ordered. Don't let them recover. The combined fleet surged forward, crystal ships now acting as quantum feedback generators, while human vessels pounded the disabled swarm ships with conventional weapons. The battle turned into a rout as the swarm, for the first time in their long history, found themselves completely outmaneuvered. Swarm vessels are retreating en masse, Park reported, amazement in his voice. Long-range sensors show their entire command structure is in disarray. Captain, I think we actually did it. Chen looked at her battered bridge crew, then at Zar-El, whose crystalline form was glowing with triumph despite its damage. "We did it together," she said. "Your advanced technology and our simple understanding of basic principles. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones right in front of us." As the remaining swarm ships flood into the darkness between stars, Chen knew this victory would change everything. Humanity had proved itself not just as fighters, but as innovators who could see solutions where others saw only problems. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would the humans who had helped save it. Guardians of Tomorrow. 6 months after the breaking storm battle, the observation deck of Earth's new Galactic Defense Center was filled with representatives from 100 alien species. Captain Chen stood beside Zar-El, watching as ships from across the galaxy participated in joint training exercises in Earth orbit. 3 years ago, we thought we were alone in the universe, Chen mused, watching the human destroyer demonstrate electromagnetic combat techniques to a group of alien vessels. Now we're teaching advanced civilizations how to fight effectively, and learning just as much in return, Zar-El added, their crystalline form now bearing proud battle scars from the final conflict. The swarm's retreat has given hope to countless worlds. Already, 17 previously conquered systems have been reclaimed. Below them, in the massive training hall, human instructors worked with alien crews. They taught pragmatic combat tactics, the value of redundant manual systems, and the importance of understanding basic principles rather than relying solely on advanced technology. In return, alien engineers helped humanity improve their ships, blending simple reliability with sophisticated innovations. Admiral Chen, a young ensign, approached, still stumbling slightly over her new rank. The Arcturian delegation has arrived. They're requesting your insights on modifying their quantum drives with electromagnetic shielding. Chen smiled at her new title. A lot had changed since that first encounter with the swarm. Tell them I'll be there shortly. And remind them to bring their oldest engineers, not just their quantum specialists. Sometimes understanding the basics is more important than knowing the cutting edge. After the ensign left, Chen turned back to the viewport. A new class of ships was taking shape in Earth's orbital shipyards, vessels that represented the best of all worlds. They had the thick armor and practical weapons humanity favored, enhanced by crystal matrices and quantum field generators. Most importantly, they could be operated either with advanced AI or simple manual controls. The swarm has gone silent, Zar-El noted, their tone thoughtful. Our long-range scouts report they've retreated beyond the galactic rim. Some believe they're gone for good. They'll be back, Chen said with certainty. Threats like that don't just disappear. But next time, she gestured to the diverse fleet exercising below. We'll be ready for them. The doors slid open, admitting Admiral Santos and several alien military leaders. The Defense Council is ready to begin, Santos announced. The Regellians have an interesting proposal about adapting their solar energy technology to power our railvan systems. Chen nodded and followed them toward the council chamber. On the way, they passed the center's main entrance hall, where a simple plaque caught her eye. It bore words that had become something of a motto for the new Galactic Defense Force. Progress isn't always about having the most advanced technology. Sometimes it's about understanding the basics, trusting your instincts, and being willing to try the simple solution first. The council chamber was a blend of human practicality and alien sophistication. Holographic displays showed defense plans and patrol routes, while old-fashioned paper maps lined the walls as backups. Representatives from 50 species sat together, combining their knowledge and experiences to protect their shared galaxy. We've received applications from 30 more worlds wanting to join the Defense Alliance, Santos reported as the meeting began. They're particularly interested in our hybrid training program. To think, an alien commander observed, their bioluminescent form pulsing with amusement, that the galaxy's youngest spacefaring race would end up teaching the rest of us how to defend ourselves effectively. Not teaching, Chen corrected, reminding. Every species started with simple tools, and basic principles. We just happened to still be close enough to our beginnings to remember their value. The meeting continued, discussing patrol strategies and response plans. Chen watched as human and alien leaders worked together, each contributing their unique perspectives. The galaxy was changing, becoming something newer and stronger than before. Later, standing again at the viewport, Chen watched Earth's sun set behind a curve of her home planet. A formation of ships passed overhead, human, crystal, and a dozen other designs, all flying together. "We did more than drive back the swarm," she said to Zar-El, who had joined her again. "We helped the galaxy remember something important. It's not the level of your technology that matters most. It's the wisdom to use it well, the courage to face challenges, and the willingness to work together." And that, Zar-El agreed, their form reflecting the last rays of sunlight, is why humanity has earned its place as the guardians of tomorrow. Not because you're the strongest or the most advanced, but because you remind the rest of us what we used to know, that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most powerful ones. As night fell over Earth, the stars seemed to shine brighter than ever before. They were no longer distant, unreachable points of light, but beacons of possibility. Humanity had found its place in the cosmos, not by becoming more advanced, but by staying true to what had always made them strong: innovation, determination, and the courage to face any challenge head-on. The galaxy was a safer place now, not because of unbeatable weapons or impenetrable shields, but because its peoples had learned to combine their strengths and trust in each other. And if the swarm or any other threat ever returned, they would find not just humanity waiting for them, but a united galaxy ready to stand its ground.